I'm about to ruin your day in a way that you would not expect. Apparently, instead of just getting a normal fortune cookie in which it will tell you whether you will succeed or succeed in life, because there's only really two options whenever you go and get your fortune told. But now fortune cookies are turning into advertisements. Phenomenal. Welcome to another edition of X-Fade, where we cover the world of collectibles. We've had a very interesting stretch on this channel, and excuse me while I go into a monologue. Bear with me. It'll be worth it, maybe. You're not supposed to self-deprecate. Yes, it'll absolutely be worth it. Whenever we've done like trading card videos, they've gotten like almost 2,000 views, and then for almost the general type of stuff, it's around the 100. So apparently people are wanting to talk about trading cards, so that's what we're going to lean into a little bit more, which we'll talk about Ascended Heroes, the newest Pokemon release, which apparently there is another one already. One Piece gets released early as well. We'll get into that, but what are some of the headlines when you look out into the world of trading cards? Bum, 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 bum. Pokemon Ascended Heroes. Can the biggest set ever live up to the hype? That's from Sports Illustrated. Now, on that note, have you ever actually watched the YouTube video promoting the Ascended Heroes release? Well, if you haven't, here you go.
A new wave of Mega Evolutions enter the battleground in the Pokemon trading card game Mega Evolution Ascended Heroes. Available now. Each Pokemon TCG booster pack contains 10 cards, 1 basic energy, and 1 Pokemon TCG live code card. Cards vary by pack. Packs may vary by product.
I just thinking of the person that was doing the voiceover for that the entire time. You know, a little bit of The Last of Us. Who doesn't love a little bit of The Last of Us? But as hyped as we are around that trailer, immediately there was announcements of, yeah, there's going to be a delay. We'd like to share an important update concerning the upcoming Pokemon TCG Mega Evolution Ascended Heroes Collection Erica and Larry product. Now, obviously, we've seen other variants of this accessible, but for this one in specific, for the USA and Canada, it will be delayed from the original scheduled launch date of January 30th to February 20th, and we're now on the 3rd, so a little bit of ways to go to see that. But as soon as we start kind of getting word of Ascended Heroes able to get the product, well, the leaks start coming for the release after that. Official next Pokemon TCG set Chaos Rising launching this May. Chaos Rising will be the 4th main Mega Evolution set and is expected to be the English equivalent of Japan's Ninja Spinner set, launching March 13th. Like its Japanese counterpart, Mega Greninja is expected to be featured in Chaos Rising. Recently, a leaked image of a stunning Mega Greninja EX card that has been circulating online, showcasing 2 attacks, Mortal Shuriken and Ninja Spinner, the latter sharing its name with the upcoming Japanese set. Several other leaks included full art feature cards of Mega... Oh, I'm going to mess this one up. Dragolge? See, I'm thinking of Dragapult. Is it like the second evolution of Dragapult, or am I going crazy here? Cinco EX and trainers such as AZ and Roxy. Okay, great. And then we go back to Ascended Heroes, where the cards that have been coming back as graded 10s and or higher in the Black and Pristine, going for basically $4,000, upwards of $10,000. Holy suffering succotash. These things have just come out, and the demand for them is so hot. So this begs the question, when we talk about modern and vintage, for anything, whether it be sports, whether it be trading cards, people always go with, oh, the vintage stuff is going to be more sought after, looked at, whatever, because of the aspect that there's lesser of it. Well, I agree with a lot of the points of that, historic, whatever else. I do think that if you're somebody that's coming in to collecting or finding a new passion, and let's say they got into this on Ascended Heroes, well, hot damn, you just have a whole bunch of people that's their first introduction on set. And if you've been watching the stream for a while, which thank you so much if you do, I've talked a ton about Magic the Gathering and the Dominaria set when that came out, because that was when I first got into it. That's when I was just absolutely in love with every single aspect around it. And that'll probably be something that I'll always remember and try to go to with my familiarity around that specifically. And then I went to look and see, is there any opportunity locally to buy into the product? Out of stock, pre-order. Hated. Unreal. And then for more gamer, Ascended Heroes Pokemon cards are so expensive. Buying a full set costs almost $10,000. Oh, guacamole. Now, before we get on to some of the One Piece news, more Pokemon, more news in general, all that kind of good stuff, we do have to let you know that we just dropped a new podcast where I interviewed the Gutter Cat Gang founder. Now, you might say, okay, why do I care about that? Well, if you don't know what Gutter Cat Gang is, it is a digital brand, or at least a brand that started on the digital front. They held parties in Vegas, which still, you might say, wow, that doesn't sound that cool. I'm not really much of a partier. Okay, well, they got into sports pretty heavy, where they sponsored some 3v3 basketball teams, which was quite cool. And then LaMelo Ball, the Charlotte Hornets superstar, slurring here, my apologies. They did a shoe with LaMelo Ball and Puma. And that was kind of their biggest notoriety aspect. And I asked the current founder a little bit about that. So here's a quick clip. I mean, there is weight to what previously happened within the Gutter Cat brand. And I do think that we have a lot of different perspectives. And as an example, on one of the most recent episodes, we talked with the CEO of CyberKongs, which is another collection that was birthed in the Web3 realm. And they were talking about how building up intellectual property or doing things around that is a long play. It's going to take time. You're going to have ebbs and flows with everything. And it feels like Gutter Cat Gang had different moments going back to the LaMelo Ball shoe drop where it felt like, oh crap, that's a really, really big deal. The partnership between Puma and Gutter Cat Gang, I don't think that was the first one ever, but bringing in LaMelo Ball, do you have any sort of insights on how that exactly came to be and what the conversations again look like behind the scenes for it?
That was a big one. I think it's when you started getting into the Web 2 world and getting exposed and trying to explain all these companies how Web 3 is. And of course, you know, all of this started in 2020, 2021 maybe. There was not much data, and some of this, when I'm talking to CEOs, COOs of these major Web 2 companies, they still have no clue what Web 3 is, right? And trying to explain that to them, it's a challenge. So it's always good to have an investor within your project. And LaMelo was a big investor holder with the Gutter Cats, and that's how he was a participant within the community. So that's how we started, the founders started talking to him directly in creating this type of partnership and make it happen. It was a big one. I think to this day it is still one of the, if not the biggest partnership that I have seen in Web3 so far.
Now, do you think that that's actually the biggest for yous that know in the Web3 realm? Because immediately you go to thinking of like what Doodles have done with like McDonald's, etc. But I mean, LaMelo Ball and like kind of a cool culture play, I definitely think that one is up there. If you guys are just tuning in for the first time, what's up? Hello. If you're here during the live, if you're rewatching the VOD, you're going to be like, what the hell are you doing this again? But we go live Monday through Friday talking about collectibles world. And we might start doing some streams on the weekend as well, trying to shake it up. Maybe we'll even play some like Pokemon TCG. There's the new Magic Might and Fame, Fights and Magic, something like that over on Immutable. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but on February 4th, which is tomorrow, that is supposed to be the release. So this is the upcoming One Piece set, just like we had the Ascended Heroes release. And this is getting shown and broke and highlighted on streams and places 3 weeks before the release, which is having everybody crash out like no tomorrow. If you've never been to the One Piece card game site or in general, basically One Piece is really starting to capture attention. I would argue that you're seeing a decent sized audience within the specific, like, I'm going to play the One Piece game. And then there is a lot of people that are getting into it strictly for the, hey, I just kind of like the vibe of this and want to collect without knowing how to play the game, which I think that would also be interesting if you went across the different trading card games. And I don't know how you would do this in a way that would makes sense because you'd have to access people that watch the show. You'd have to find people to play the trading card game, but find out between all the different subsets, how many of them do they know how to play the the card game, right? Like if you watch the show, do you know how the card game actually works? If you, yeah, I was going to say, if you play the card game, do you know how it actually works? But yes, you absolutely would. So this is a little bit of like what the site looks like overall. You can find where there's pre-made deck builds, exactly like Magic the Gathering. And yeah, it's obviously one of like the hottest things that are out there right now. And amongst that, we've continually covered the story around some NCAA basketball games that are getting the promo cards distributed at them. The first one, scalpers and people that were trying to buy them off other patrons at the game were in the gates, like fighting people to try to get access to that, or not, maybe not fighting, but fighting with police for sure, where a lot of them got kicked out, trying to pick up those cards. There was a story of some person making like $100,000, like flipping them because they spent like $50 to $100 at the event because people didn't know and it was the first one. And then we said, well, they're going to change how the rest work now because they've seen what problems arise and how to handle it. And well, we figured out what exactly that is. The One Piece trading card game college basketball US Voyage Luffy promo card is making more headlines at another university. The collab event at Gonzaga this past weekend handed out the promo cards after the game instead of before to ensure people stayed during the match. So that's kind of brilliant, doing things at the end to make sure people end up staying. Kelly Olynyk, wasn't he from Gonzaga? I don't know why I remember that. The circus This is in quotes, I should clarify. This circus carried on for around an hour, and security had to get involved more than a few times. At one point, a middle-aged man wielding a stack of cards in one hand and a ridiculously large sandwich of $100 bills, and the other was escorted off the property. Saying, no, here's $100. See, 50. The first game, you can get away with 50. I don't know on that second game if you were getting away with 50. Right? I think that was actually the third. So now they've upped it to 100. Now, on a more somber note, recently we did a stream that was covering a lot of the Pokemon break-ins and everything else, and I would highly encourage you to go and check that out on the YouTube live feed. It's probably harder to find on some of the other platforms, but it's pretty eye-opening, especially when you get to interview or see interviews of the different shop owners, what they're experiencing, and just the sentiment towards things. Last night, there was another situation, should say Sunday, excuse me, not yesterday, was I believe the first. So on Sunday, where in the Vaughan area in Canada, there was, I guess, a vendor that was a shop. So you'll go to card shows. Sometimes there'll be just call it me, right? Like I'm not a shop. Well, I mean, I could theoretically have some on the side, but like I'm going there and I'm just me, right? But there's people that own actual collectible shops that go up and set to these sites. And I think that's who this person was. And I guess they got a rental car. They moved a bunch of the product in there to sell at the show. And then there was like a group of thieves that, you know, noticed that car or saw that there was valuables left in it. So they ended up completely destroying the rental car. They got singles, they got slabs, they got everything you can imagine. And yeah, it's just brutal. It's just brutal. And yeah, so that's the bad news of the day. I don't necessarily want to play the video because it's pretty bad. But if you go and you Google a One Piece card's value, this is the first prompt that it says. One Piece cards hold strong value for a modern game, especially in premium rarities. Pokemon remains the king of overall TCG value, but One Piece sits comfortably among the strongest modern performers. Now, I wonder who's paying to get the Pokemon TCG. Somebody's looking up, do we go buy One Piece cards? And they're like, no, hold on. Let me introduce you to the Pokemon trading card game. And another note, just if you've not seen the anime, just watch it for the first episode where you get to meet Lady Alvida and the Kobe situation. And the initial introduction of Monkey D. Luffy is outstanding. Outstanding. Now, across socials, one thing that I've noticed is people starting to question the algorithm. If not, they're following ghost followers, different conversations around that. So I would share a little bit about something that I've done before. So there's a site called Fadika, and if you're somebody that was, whether it be like an account that was botted, right? Because we see in certain projects where you question of, All right, did the founder just bought all the followers, or with something to make it look fishy? Did somebody else try to do it? If you go, you can actually go back and remove different followers that are not active anymore. So you can go all the way back to like 6 months. It's sort of expensive, but I just wanted to give like a shout that site does work for anyone that cares about the X algorithm, anything else under that frame of mind. And the first look for top Series 1 baseball, first release of the year, it's going to be Bryce Harper on the cover of that. And Super Bowl ad commercials, $7 to $10 million for 30 seconds. Ay, ay, ay. This is what the United States looks like for their baseball classic that's coming up. Still highlighting, we have an insane year across the World Cup, across the World Baseball Classic, all your traditional leagues. And speaking of the World Cup, you can get parking for the games in LA, a mile away from the stadium, for $250 to $300. All right, well, that's sort of expensive, but take a look at this one. Here is Miami for the Scotland-Brazil game. Sort by price, $1,479. Is that increase over time, or does that go lower? And then 2 releases at Lego. They have an orange cat you can buy for $100. And then Yu-Gi-Oh! To celebrate the incredible world of Yu-Gi-Oh! We're inviting you to believe in the heart of the bricks, which normally they're things believe in the heart of the cards. And showcase your favorite moments from the anime, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters using Lego bricks. Lego is speedrunning the partnership game in 2026. That's all I got to say. I hope you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. Appreciate you so much for tuning in. Again, we do these quick little streams updating you on various collectibles news Monday through Friday. Might end up doing more weekends. Would love for you to check out the channels. We'll be posting more. And thank you. All right. Peace.